Do you ever watch the YouTube channel Hot Ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the hot wings?
Yeah.
And then he's like, that camera, that camera, that camera, that camera.
You know how you want to start it?
Nope, haven't thought about it at all. Okay, you want me to just stand here like this, or you want me to animate it, or? Hey everybody, I'm Jesse Vaughn, and this is a full feature video on the latest truck we're wrapping up, Old Yeller. Okay, we've been working on this truck for probably right at a year now, and like a lot of projects, it started out as casual emails like, hey, I've got this truck, hey, I'm thinking about buying a different chassis. Well, as with many things in level 7, it snowballs and there is definitely scope creep. This is one of those scope creep trucks that started out with a small idea and turned into me finding the whole truck and doing a chassis motor. Well, it's a full build. So it is a 1972 C10 Cheyenne full trim package, and it was actually my neighbor's truck. So it was a long bed pickup that had all original paint on it, had a little bit of rust that we had to do. We bought that truck from Mark, my neighbor, who you guys have seen in Robbie's videos before. Immediately bought a no limit raised rail ProTech chassis. We bought an LS3, a T56. We did a floater 9-inch under it, got rolling right away. The truck has a killer stance. It's running 19 by 12 inch forge lines all the way around with a 325 tire. It turns lock to lock. It does everything that it's supposed to do at this ride height. And I'll be honest with you, this is probably my favorite 67 to 72 we've ever built. It just has a bit of refinement, as Taz has said. I think that bit of refinement and the full trim really make this truck. I have a soft spot for yellow trucks, and this ochre is probably one of my favorite colors for a 67 to 72. This chassis is pretty much a standard no limit raised rail chassis. This one still has ZG spindles up front. It's got big Willwood brakes, all the super light stuff. So 6 piston in the back, 4 piston in the rear. And then we did the DSE floater conversion on the ends of the 9-inch. So we ordered the chassis with the 9-inch housing, just raw, and then Dylan and I cut the tubes and did the DSE floater in. So this uses the C6 Corvette unit bearing, and then DSE's weld-on billet end. The engine is a Crate 430 horse LS3. We pulled the cylinder heads off and sent them to Frankenstein. Frankenstein did one of their CNC port programs on it, and then we did a Brian Tooley camshaft and all the valve trains. So this combination through a short ratio T56 Magnum should make right around 500 to the tires. We haven't done any tuning in this truck yet. We haven't done the alignment. It's not quite done yet, but we've seen in the past these combinations do about 500 to the tires. So really for a daily driver, fun truck that maybe does a little bit of autocross or track days, this is the perfect amount of horsepower in my opinion. Moving on to probably my favorite part of this truck is the paint and body. Yes, it does have some paint and body. Being as that it was a long bed, we had a body shop that we work with do the bedside cut down. They've shortened the bed sides, and then we bought a brand new bed floor from AMD and their 4-inch wider wheel tubs. Dylan and I then raised the bed floor, and then we seam sealed it and got it all just right. And then the truck got sent up to Boris at Street Machinery, and then they did all the patina matching. So I would argue that like nobody can tell that this truck has been patina paint matched, but the bed floor looks perfect, the bed sides look perfect, and even if you look closely, there's no third stake pocket in the middle as an indicator that it was a long bed. So it does look like a true short bed 72 truck, in which I love that about this truck. Still has the dealer emblems on the cowl. After all that stuff was done and we got it wired and fired, we sent it up to our friend Joel at Boss Custom Interiors in Iowa, and he did a killer truck. Now Matt, the owner of this truck, is into vintage Porsches, and there was a vintage Porsche interior color called Cork. So I looked around, I looked through Relicate, I looked through some of the other leather suppliers throughout the country, and we found a color of upholstery that is very similar to Cork. He upholstered a scratch and dent set of Scheelman seats that we brought in, and then did all the German square weave carpet, and I love it. Even the little dash pad across the top of the dash has baseball stitching all around it. It just adds that touch of refinement, as we say, to the interior. So let's do a little bit of a walk around. I can maybe point out some of my favorite features of the truck, dig right into it. Continuing on talking about that patina paint matching stuff, we did shave the firewall like a little bit. So this side, the passenger side of the firewall, has all the heater core box and all that stuff smoothed. We ran all the HVAC lines out where the blower motor used to be. Just kind of made like a little bit of a the finishing plate for the bulkhead fittings. If you look on the driver's side, we even left like the factory style wiring bulkhead, just as like a simple solution to this truck. We just put an American Auto wire harness in it and just let the wiring harness come through there. But if you look closely at this firewall, the patina paint matching, I think, gives you the idea that it's still an original paint job. And we left the factory chalk marks in some of the spots where it had chalk marks. But if you guys look behind the engine, we simulated a level 7 chalk mark. The rest of the cosmetics in this engine bay are just satin blacked inner fenders, the inner structures of the fenders, the core support, and the bottom of the hood. That's all stuff that's easily painted, you know, scuffed, cleaned, and painted with sim trim black. But if you look closely at the inner fenders, these are the fiber forged carbon fiber inner fenders. So this truck fits a 325 wide tire up front and can turn lock to lock without touching the inner fenders. We moved these up so high that we could not use the fender mounted hood hinges, which honestly I like using the firewall mounted hinges. They're just very simple and they work well. Again, the entire engine is Cerakoted tungsten, Holley high ram intake manifold, simply because I like a little bit of higher RPM power and it just looks cool in this truck. The Holley valve covers, Holley mid-mount accessory drive, Holley harness, ultimate headers, 321 stainless long tube headers, Wizard cooling radiator package with brushless fans, integrated AC condenser, and vintage air dryer. This one also has their pulse width modulated sensor that mounts in the hot tank of the radiator, so these fans will speed themselves up and slow them down, you know, with need. So on the firewall, you can see some of our products. In this situation, we use our finishing plate behind the brake master cylinder, and you can see it's got our soft line package on it as well. You can see the soft lines there going from the Willwood proportioning valve down to the frame bulkheads. And then the billet clutch reservoir also gives you an idea that we are using our hydraulic clutch conversion pedal assembly. So those are just some of the products that we're using on this truck that made it easy to build and add some convenience. The interior on this truck is pretty special to me. Like I said, it's got that cork colored leather, and we even sent some of the leather out to have it perforated to give it that vintage Porsche look as well. But there's perforated leather in the headrests and in the seat bottoms. And then we haven't done the door panels yet. We weren't quite sure on what we were going to do, but we're going to end up wrapping these door panel inserts in perforated leather as well, and then painting the plastic to match this color. But the German square weave in this car is perfect. I love the color. I love how it turned out. One of the things that I'm proud of too is how he put a storage area or a cubby behind the seats where the factory gas tank would have mounted to the floor behind the seats. And then even where the gas tank attached along the back of the cab, he made like a finishing panel that covered up where all those fasteners went from the factory. Standard T56 transmission with a Bowler 14-inch lever and knob. The seats are all mounted on a Slosh Tubs seat frame, and then this is actually a buddy bucket that we just cut the back off and built this console up to have this kind of shape and width. But it's got a billet blazer cup holder, and then on the inside, Joel did some neat stuff. It's carpeted inside so nothing rattles around, and then Joel built this here. This thing does serves two purposes. One is to have a cargo net so you can put your paperwork, and the other is to locate this lid so when you close it, it doesn't move left to right, it doesn't flop around. So I love this console. And you can see our pedal assembly in there with the factory pads, and then this is also our throttle pedal and throttle pedal mount bracket. What's so cool about using this 05 to 13 Corvette throttle pedal is that you can buy from AMD the factory throttle pedal trim for this model truck, and it goes right on the modern Corvette throttle pedal, so it looks very OE. All the dash stuff is pretty simple. It's a standard off-the-shelf stuff. It's got Dakota Digital RTX gauges, which are perfect. I love the aesthetic. This is an eidetic column that's shortened on the outside of the firewall, which this is an off-the-shelf column that we actually inventory now. So all of the length is taken off the outside and brings that U-joint all the way up to the firewall, so we can use a one-piece steering intermediate shaft to get down to the rack. One of our Momo steering wheels that we stock, but we had Joel change the leather up here to this cork leather, and then paint the Momo logo in this color as well. This truck in the 90s had the radio cut out, so it had like a Sony CD player. Dylan and I TIG welded a panel back in here and put a factory GM radio in, but it has the Bluetooth, it has auxiliary input, and it's got a modern amp inside of it. So it does all the modern things you want to. It even has the auxiliary cord that we've got laying in here, and vintage air. So it's all pretty standard, but it's perfectly equipped. Another little detail thing on the inside of this truck is it does have the factory parking brake lever, and some of you guys may recognize this or have seen it in reels or even on our website, but this is a activation point for the electric parking brake from E-Stop that we mount on the frames.
Hey everybody, I want to show you something cool. Well, something nerdy, but still cool. You guys know how we've always had the typical e-brake cable, right? On a C10 to 72. Well, there's a cable that runs down and it pulls another set of cables in the back. We don't want all that. We don't have room for all that. So we're going to do an E-Stop electric parking brake actuator. So it mounts on the frame and the electric motor pulls the cable. And then when you hit the button, it lets off. But we don't want some silly button on the dash. We want to still use this. So what we did is we put a heavy duty spring and bracket on the OE parking brake pedal. And we put a stop and we put a momentary switch, and then that's the module for our E-Stop unit under the dash. So now you can stomp that sucker. Our finger now pushes our momentary switch, pulls the parking brake, and then when you're ready for it to release it like always. It lets off the momentary, electric motor lets out on the parking brake, and you're good to go.
So you literally just push the e-brake pedal just like you would. It's got a big heavy duty spring on it, so it feels like you're pulling the cables, but it's actually just contacting a switch under the dash. And now the parking brake is set. The beeping, you guys can unplug or plug in the little beeper if you do or don't want it, but it is a nice warning. If you start the truck and you're gonna drive, it does beep at you to let you know that you've still got the parking brake set up, activated. But you just pull the release and it lets off the parking brake. So just a little modern amenity that works really well. You don't have all those cables hanging underneath the chassis, but it still looks stock, and I'm big into that. Since we're inside the truck, why don't we just go for a drive?
Yeah.
Yeah, when I blow up, I'ma soar high like Peter Pan. In real life, be living out my dreams. If I'm waking up, it's in a foreign land. Whole wrist covered up in ice. Dealership, never ask the price. I hit the mall and ball with my dogs. Yeah, I swipe it once without thinking twice, cause this what I was made for. Man, I know this what I came for. On a big stage, couple thousand people, and they do whatever I say so. Have chicks that color the rainbow. Yeah, chains on me like Django. Be a long way from my tank low, cause my Tesla charge for them bank rolls. And I'm grinding, money on my mind, and I'm headed to the top. I won't stop until I find it. Write my name in diamonds, but all these lights are blinding. I wonder, is it worth it? Feel like I'm losing my mind. Yeah, remind me.
Don't be afraid of the dark. Be careful with stars.
Give us just a sec. We're getting organized in here.
Yeah, sure. You just want to sing. That's all you want to do.
Always.
So we've been out taking a little drive in this beautiful truck, awesome truck.
It's doing good so far.
Getting thumbs up as we ride around, but been shooting some cool rolling footage, and it kind of made me think, like, what's your favorite part of driving this truck? Not necessarily like, you know, your favorite component on the truck, but like, what's your favorite part of driving this thing?
Right now, the exhaust note's probably my favorite.
Yes, sir.
It takes a few times of driving a new project to kind of realize everything.
Yeah.
Or to like notice everything. Because really, I haven't driven this truck. Like, there's no alignment on it. There's not a finished tune on it. Like, I haven't had any miles on this.
Yeah, that's important
Last
to note.
night and today was the first time I've driven this. So
important to note.
like I noticed that I've got the blinkers pinned the wrong way on the dash. Like, there's a rattle in the door. Like, so my mind is making mental note of all these little things that I need to go back and like finish up.
Yeah.
But so far, I like the turn-in's amazing. These chassis are always great. Like,
oh yeah.
They always steer and turn, and like they don't dive. Like, they do everything just perfect. So I'm a little bit, I guess, used to that.
Yeah.
So I'm noticing other things, but
yeah, that's awesome.
this is a really good truck to drive.
Oh my gosh, and it looks so good with the 12-inch wide wheels rolling down the road. I mean, it's just really got the stance. I mean, the stance.
I love it. It's really pretty low, but it doesn't drive like it's super low. Like, it drives totally normal, like any other truck I've ever built.
Any rubbing issues, anything that you've noticed?
There hasn't been one rub yet.
God.
I mean, we just dove out of that parking lot
For sure.
and it didn't do anything.
For sure.
Yep.
Probably a big benefit to the chassis and the fiber forged fender fenders.
Yep.
All right, so manual brakes on this one?
Yeah, and they feel great. I like being able to like modulate how much force I'm putting on and feeling
I
it.
can't launch with this camera equipment.
Oh! Yeah, what do you think of the ride quality?
I think the ride quality is awesome, in fact, especially to be so low and to be static. I mean, this is not air ride. I mean, it is.
No, and I went a little bit firm on the spring rates on this truck because he wants to do track days.
Yep.
So I think I've got 900 pound rate springs in the front and like 275s or 300s.
Very cool.
So it's on the stiffer side, but it feels fine.
For sure. Yeah, I wouldn't hesitate getting this thing and driving anywhere.
Yeah.
And these roads around here are not really that great.
No.
So we're kind of bouncing around, cameras shifting around.
Yeah.
So you got a couple little things to finish up on it. What are you doing about a tune?
So I'll be doing all the street, startup tuning, drivability tuning. Since it's a manual, there's no transmission strategy. Once I get all that, then it'll come in and we'll put it on the dyno and do the final dyno pulls. All this drivability stuff, me doing that, it allows me time to get the motor really broke in too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I'll change the oil twice, and then we'll go ahead and put synthetic in it before we go to the dyno.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, like much more power than this, and you can't flat foot drive it. You can't floor it everywhere.
Yeah.
Like this, if we wanted to pass them, we could throw it down to third, floor it, bang forth, floor it.
Yeah.
Like you could drive it hard like that. Some of those vehicles that we build that make 700 or 800 wheel horsepower, you can't drive it that hard.
Yeah.
Like it'll just blow the tires off.
Yeah. I do love that you've figured out I'll be honest with you, man, it feels crazy how
And that's part throttle.
Dude, it feels planted and safe and I don't know, it just feels rigid and tight.
Yeah.
Not rigid in a bad way though.
But no, muscle, everything's flexed, tight.
Yes.
That's the chassis being as stiff as it is. There's no, twist to the frame.
Yeah.
The suspension is the only thing that's moving, and it can do its work. It can do its job when there's nothing else moving. All right, let's roll.
Let's do it. I'm hungry.
Me too.
We got to load up some stuff.
We do.
Back to your place?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
I'm leaving that in here.
like we're just.
Yeah. We got so much technology, but we're still using walkie-talkies, and I firmly believe this is the safest way to do this.
I love those.
Yeah. So ultimate headers, 321 stainless ultimate headers.
Yep. And then the mufflers are up here under the cab, and then behind the cab I just have one 3-inch crossover pipe. So it's an H pipe.
Yep.
But behind the mufflers.
Yes.
And then they go all the way out to the back. Yeah.
That's an interesting way to do that. Why did you do that?
So confinement issues are the reason for the placement, but I have to merge banks. I refuse to not merge the banks.
Yep.
So it's a bit of a, I don't have any other options really. There's no room in this frame for any kind of X or H pipe. So I have to wait till I get past that big inner stiffener to do anything. And if I put the mufflers too far back, there's not really much room for mufflers. So I always put the mufflers in the X portion of the frame, and then right behind the headboard, since the bed floor's got to be raised, I do an H over the drive shaft.
Love it.
And it merges the banks so it doesn't make it really poppy, but it creates a very unique, aggressive sound.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, it does sound very unique. Did you ever confirm what mufflers they are?
I think they are the, I think they're XR1s.
Yeah, the Borla XR1s.
Yeah.
They sound great. They actually sound a lot tamer than I thought the XR1 sounded.
Well, if you think about it, an H-pipe typically quiets a car down.
It does, for sure.
And so we put them after the muffler, so I don't know if like, I don't know all the science behind it, but I know that this weird combination makes a unique sound.
I was gonna say, keep running them like this because it sounds awesome.
Well, even last night, Steven was like making note on his phone of like what it was.
Yeah.
He was like, this sounds great.
It does. And now we're both building OBSs with inner stiffeners. It's a great way to run the exhaust.
Yeah, it is.
You know, to get around the inner stiffener. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I know Jesse did. He likes to just rip around them things.
I did. One of the other like creature comforts that we added to this was extra BIM modules through Dakota Digital, and one of them is tire pressure monitors, and then we also use their cruise control, so it receives the pulse from the bowler's harness, and so it's got cruise control, it's got that e-brake, it's got tire pressure monitor system. It's got the USBs behind the cigarette lighter socket. Remember, I didn't show you that.
Yeah.
If you pull our little billet cover for the cigarette lighter,
Let's open it up and look at that
two
real quick.
USBs are in there. So this is what looks like the factory cigarette lighter, but it's got the dual USB ports in there.
So rad.
Yeah.
Lots of cool tech.
There is a lot of cool stuff in this truck. It's been so long now of getting the upholstery done and all that stuff that I kind of forgot about what all was in this truck, so cool. All right, everybody, thank you for watching this. Thank you for taking the time to learn little things about Old Yeller. We are super pumped to be wrapping this truck up. I really think that this is one of the most dialed in, nicer 67 to 72s that we've built yet. There's a few more things before it's done, so I'll be sharing those on all of our social medias, and maybe we'll do one more final video after it's all done with Matt, the owner. So anyways, hope y'all are good. See you on the next one.